Alright, so hello and Assalamualaikum everyone. So dalam video ni, Madam akan explain question 13 dalam tutorial kita. Okay, so kita ada dekat sini satu function. We have a function fx, right? And then soalan kata find the vertical and horizontal asymptote of function f. And then lepas tu kita akan sketch the graph of function f. Right, so let's find the vertical asymptote first. So for vertical asymptote, awak tahu awak akan ambil bahagian denominator. So we just take the denominator part down here and we equal it to 0. So we will have x square minus 3x minus 4 is equal to 0. Okay, so when we factorize this one, so kita akan dapat x minus 3. Oops, I think it's x minus 4. So x minus 4 dengan x plus 1 equal to 0. Okay, so we have two values of x equal to 4 dengan equal to negative 1. Okay, so these are the possible vertical asymptote, right? So nama pun possible, so dia boleh jadi vertical asymptote, boleh jadi not vertical asymptote. So how do we know how to confirm? We need to test lah. So kena cari limit dia. Okay, so first kita akan buat dulu untuk x equal to 4. Right, so for x equal to 4. Okay, buat macam ni. Okay, so now let's find the limit from left as well as from the right of x equal to 4. So limit x approaching 4 from the left, fx. Okay, so our fx is minus 3x plus 12. Wait. Right, so our fx is negative 3x plus 12. Okay, and then denominator kita is x square minus 3x minus 4. This one. Okay, so and then kita terus buat untuk bahagian kiri juga, bahagian kanan, sorry. So the limit from the right, so just change the symbol into plus over here and over here. Right, so let's do this one by one first. Let's do for this one first, right? So when we directly substitute the value of 4, okay, so you don't have to substitute for negative, meaning that kita tak perlu masukkan nilai for negative, which is 3.9 into our function. Okay, tak perlu. Okay, so first thing first adalah to substitute the limit, the x value as it is. So when you see the number 4 over here, just substitute 4 as it is. Okay, so kita akan substitute 4 atas dengan bawah. So daripada sini, kita sebenarnya akan dapat nilai dia 0 over 0. Okay, so remember 0 over 0 for limit, you need to use either factorization method or conjugate. Factorize or conjugate. Okay, so for this question, obviously kita tak nampak square root. So maksudnya kita tak boleh guna conjugate lah, tak perlu guna conjugate. Sebab conjugate hanya digunakan bila awak nampak square root sign sahaja. Okay, so in this case not a conjugate obviously. So we are going to use factorization method. Okay, so let's factorize what we have in the numerator as well as in the denominator. Okay, so limit will follow you all the way as long as you have x in your expression. So kita factorize bahagian atas. So madam nak factorize negative 3. So I will have x minus 4. Okay, so make sure when we expand this one back, we will get this one. Right? Okay, and then for the denominator, kita dah factorize pun tadi dekat atas. So we have x minus 4 dengan x plus 1. Okay, so kita boleh cancel out kan lah. X minus 4, x minus 4. Right, so tinggal dekat kita negative 3 over x plus 1. Limit x approaching 4 from the left, negative 3 over x plus 1. Plus 1. Okay, now let's substitute the value. Okay, so substitute the value as it is juga. Jangan masukkan nilai 3.9. Okay, so we are using 3.9 if and only if kita akan dapat case C constant over 0. Okay, bila nampak je over 0 dalam kita punya jawapan, barulah kita substitute nilai 3.9. Selain daripada itu, kita masukkan 4 je. Okay, so bila masukkan value of 4 dekat sini, awak akan dapat negative 3 over 5. So let's do for the right limit pula. Let's do for this one. Okay, so do the same thing. We will get 0 over 0 still. Okay, so kita still akan dapat 0 over 0. So what we are going to do from here is sama je macam dekat sini. Okay, so kita akan factorize, lepas tu kita akan cancel out. So we can skip this step, right? And we are moving on to this step terus. Okay, sebab kita tahu bila factorize, kita akan dapat benda yang sama lah. So tak perlu tulis lagi lah. Okay, so kita akan buat dekat sini. Limit x approaching 4 from the right, and then after factorize we will have negative 3 over x plus 1. Okay, so now substitute 4 as it is, so we have negative 3 over 5. Okay, so daripada dua limit awak ni, limit kiri and limit kanan yang kita dah jumpa ni, so this one we get a number. this one is a number as well. Okay, so for a value of x to be a vertical asymptote, it needs to approach to either infinity, dia mesti approach infinity atau negative infinity. Okay, so sekarang bila kita tengok dekat kita punya limit, hasil limit kita dapat nombor, not infinity, not negative infinity. So means that from here x equal to 4 is not a vertical asymptote. Okay, so boleh terus buat conclusion dekat sini. So kita akan cakap x equal to 4 is not a vertical asymptote lah. It's not a VA. Nama pendek dia, vertical asymptote. Okay, so settle. Now let's test for the next value for x equal to negative 1 pula. Right, so buat dekat bawah. So for x equal to negative 1. Okay, so let's. So let me just copy this one over here and change the number. Okay, so we are using 1, negative 1. So it's negative 1 from the left, right, as well as negative 1 from the right. Okay, so now let's test our value. So kita substitute value negative 1 as it is first into all our x's over here. Okay, so bila kita substitute, apa yang kita akan dapat? So let's see. So on top, in the numerator, we will have negative 3 times negative 1 is 3. And then we plus with 12, so awak akan dapat 15 dekat situ. Okay, and then your denominator, so over here we have 1. Okay, negative 1 square is 1, and then minus 3 times negative 1 is gonna be plus 3. So 1 plus 3 is 4, so 4 minus 4 is 0. So over here we will actually have 0. Okay, so denominator dapat 0. Alright, so bila nampak sahaja denominator equal to 0, then this one barulah kita akan gunakan value of negative 1 negative. Okay, so now kita akan test satu value untuk kita masukkan dalam kita punya x lah. Right, so let me erase this one first. Okay, so negative 1 minus means that kita akan tolak negative 0.1 lah. So we are using the value of, bagi madam susun sekejap, bawah sikit. Okay, so kita akan guna value of negative 1.1. So let's substitute into this one dengan into this one. What are we gonna get? Okay, so just press your calculator for it, please. Okay, so I believe what we will have from here is positive value, so it's gonna be 0 positive lah. Okay, so 0 positive will obviously give you infinity. Okay, remember a constant, any number other than 0, when divide by 0, 0 positive, we will have infinity. Okay, so now let's test for limit approaching negative 1 from the right pula. Okay, so bila kita substitute, kita still akan dapat jawapan yang sama, in which awak akan dapat 15 over 0. Okay, so again, when we have over 0 in our denominator, now we are going to put the positive sign over here into use. Okay, means that kita akan test value lah. So negative 1 positive, maksudnya kita akan guna value of 0.9. Okay, so substitute into this one, right? So and then from here, I believe you will have 0 minus. Okay, so 0 minus will give you the value of negative infinity. Okay, so just remember, over here is plus, over here is minus, then it's gonna be minus. Okay, kalau dekat sini plus, dekat sini plus, dekat sini pun plus. Macam tu lah. Okay, settle. Right, and then daripada sini, kita boleh buat conclusion lah. Okay, so kita nampak for value of x equal to negative 1, so our limit go to infinity. Okay, and then it goes to negative infinity juga. Okay, so daripada sini kita boleh buat conclusion yang x equal to negative 1 is a vertical asymptote. Okay, x equal to negative 1 is a vertical asymptote. Okay, settle. Alright, now let's do for horizontal asymptote pula. Okay, so horizontal asymptote, macam mana kita nak cari? Ia senang sahaja. Okay, so first awak akan cari limit approaching, limit x approaching to the infinity, and then satu lagi kita cari x approaching to negative infinity lah. Okay, so first limit x approaching negative infinity fx. Okay, and then satu lagi limit x approaching positive infinity fx. Okay, so let's just substitute our fx. Right, so let me just copy this one and paste it on the right. let's do this question. Right, so when we substitute negative infinity into our expression, okay, so substitute dekat sini, awak akan dapat positive infinity, plus with 12, kita dapat positive infinity juga. And then dekat denominator pun kita akan dapat infinity. Okay, so remember for the case of infinity over infinity, what we need to do is to divide by highest power of denominator. So now so our highest power of denominator is x squared over here. Okay, so we are dividing every term that we have in this expression with x squared. Okay, so limit will always be here as long as you have your x. Okay, and then we are going to divide everything with x squared. So negative 3x divided by x squared, and then plus with 12 divided by x squared as well. Okay, and then over with x squared over x squared minus 3x over x squared minus 4 over x squared. Okay, so let's simplify this one. Okay, so we are going to still have limit approaching negative infinity, and then our numerator has become negative 3 over x plus 12 over x squared. Okay, and then our denominator has become 1 minus 3 over x minus 4 over x squared. Okay, so when we simplify this one, we have already simplified this, and then now what's left for us is to just substitute this negative infinity into all the x's that we have. Okay, so remember, you cannot write negative infinity in your calculation. Okay, so don't substitute infinity like this. Okay, so you cannot write your infinity like this. Okay, so what can you do is to just give the answer when you divide your number by infinity. Okay, so like this one, when we have a constant divide by infinity, we are going to have 0. Okay, this one as well will be 0, and then everything divide by infinity, it will be 0. Okay, so from here what we have is negative 3 divided by infinity is 0, and then 12 divided by infinity square is also 0. Okay, and then so your denominator is 1 minus 0 minus 0. So our final answer from here is gonna be 0. Okay, so this is what we get. Okay, and then for the limit approaching limit x approaching infinity, okay, so we are going to do the same thing. When we substitute, we are going to get infinity over infinity, means that this is the exact same case as the one over here. Okay, and then what we are going to do is to divide with the highest power of denominator. So I'm just going to copy the answer from this left part. Okay, and then paste it over here. Sebab kita still akan bahagi dengan highest power. Kita akan buat benda yang sama sahaja. Okay, so kita salin je lah. Okay, so just change it to infinity sahaja. Right, so nampaklah dekat sini kita punya horizontal asymptote dua-dua adalah 0. So conclusion kita, horizontal asymptote is equal to 0. Oops, not x. Okay, so it is y equal to 0. It's a horizontal asymptote. Okay, that's it. Next, moving on to the next part of the question. Okay, so we have already found our vertical asymptote as well as our horizontal asymptote. So next part of the question asks us to sketch the graph. Okay, so jom kita nak sketch the graph. So untuk sketch the graph, kita akan listkan kita punya horizontal and vertical asymptote. So kita tahu vertical asymptote kita is x equal to negative 1. Okay, so let me highlight this one. Okay, so x equal to negative 1 is a vertical asymptote, and then horizontal asymptote kita adalah y equal to 0. Okay, so kita tulis dekat sini. Okay, so part B, we start with our vertical asymptote. It's x equal to negative 1, and then our horizontal asymptote is y equal to 0. Okay, and the next thing that we are going to do is to list all the limit. Okay, value of limit kita, x kita, dan limit kita approach to what value. Okay, so let's highlight what we have. So the first thing that we have is this one. Okay, so when limit x approaching 4, saya highlight bawah je, 4 negative, jawapan kita negative 3 over 5. Okay, and then 4 positive, kita akan dapat negative 3 over 5 juga. Okay, so let's just write this one first. So 4 from the left, 4 from the right will give us the value of y, the same value of y. So x approaching 4 from the left, y is approaching negative 3 over 5. Okay, so sama juga dengan x approaching 4 from the right. So our y is also approaching to the same value. Okay, and then what's next? So next is x approaching negative 1 from the left. So y is approaching infinity. And then x approaching negative 1 from the right, y is approaching negative infinity. Okay, so negative 1 left is infinity. Okay, so negative 1 left, infinity. Negative 1 right, positive, negative infinity. Okay, so x approaching, this is x approaching, and then y is approaching, Okay, and then lastly for the horizontal asymptote, so we have over here is x approaching negative infinity, kita dapat 0. And then x approaching infinity pun kita dapat 0 juga. Okay, so x approaching infinity, y approaching 0, and then x approaching negative infinity, y is also approaching 0. Okay, settle. So now let's try to sketch our graph. Okay, this and then like this. Okay, draw your axis first. X axis and then y axis and then 0. Okay, so kita punya vertical asymptote is at x equal to negative 1. So x equal to negative 1, I'm gonna put it over here. Okay, so this is x negative 1. Okay, and then horizontal asymptote kita adalah dekat x axis, y equal to 0 over here. Okay, so biarkan sahajalah. Okay, tapi kalau awak takut awak confused, boleh je nak buat satu garisan kat atas dia. Macam tu, so nampaklah beza sikit. Okay, settle. This is y equal to 0. Okay, so now let's do our arrow. Okay, so the first one, so untuk ini, kita ada x approaching 4. So x approaching 4 from the left, y approaching negative 3 over 5. Okay, so let's just leave these two first. Okay, so we are going to just leave these two first and do this for the last steps. Okay, so let's do for the vertical and horizontal asymptote first. Okay, let's do for this one first. So untuk ini kita ada x approaching from the left of negative 1. Okay, so this is negative 1. So from the left means that this area lah. Okay, so kita tahu y kita approaching infinity. Y approaching infinity means that y naik ke atas. So awak akan buat anak panah satu di sebelah kiri garisan putus-putus purple ni. Ke atas, like that. Okay, settle. Right, and then next, so x approaching negative 1 from the right. Negative 1 from the right means that right here, okay, on the right side of the purple line. So y is approaching negative infinity. Negative infinity means that dia ke bawah. So arrow kita turun ke bawah macam ni. Okay, settle. And then next one we have x approaching infinity. So when x approaching infinity, infinity means that dia ke sana lah, ke arah kanan sana. Okay, so y kita approaching 0. Maksudnya graf awak akan menurun ke arah x axis. Okay, y equal to 0 means that x axis. Okay, so means that graf kita dia akan sama ada ke sini atau ke sini. Okay, boleh jadi atas, boleh jadi bawah. So that's why kita akan buat arrow dekat atas satu, dekat bawah satu. Like this. Okay, so settle. And then next one is, so yang seterusnya kita ada x approaching negative infinity. Negative infinity means that ke belakang lah. So dia ke arah negative infinity. And then awak boleh nampak y is approaching 0. Approaching 0 means that y awak mendekati x axis. Okay, mendekati garisan y equal to 0. This garisan. Right, so means that dia boleh jadi atas, boleh jadi dekat bawah. So kita buat dua-dua. So we draw an arrow up here and arrow down here. Okay, settle. So now let's connect our graph together. Okay, so kita akan connectkan arrow yang tidak melanggar kita punya asymptotes. Alright, the arrows that are not going to make us pass through the asymptotes. Okay, so the first arrow is gonna be over here. Okay, kenapa? Sebab garisan ini tak buatkan awak langgar asymptote. Sebab kalau awak buat dengan yang ini, so nampak tak dekat sini kita dah langgar kita punya asymptote. So tak boleh lah. Okay, so that's why kita akan buat garisan yang ini. Okay, settle. And then the second line is gonna be over here. Dia kena, patutnya ni kena ke bawah lagi ni. Macam tak nampak pun. Macam tu lah. Yes, dia kena approaching. So it needs to look like this. Almost. Okay, settle. Right, so this is how our graph looks like partly. Okay, so there are a few things that needs to be changed that you need to consider. Okay, so kita dah settle buat keempat ni. Right, so we have settled all this inside our graph. Okay, daripada semua arrow yang awak buat dekat sini, semua arrow ni adalah based on this 4 limit. Okay, so tapi dekat sini kita ada lagi 2 limit yang awak tak label. Okay, so boleh nampak dekat sini you have 2 limit that have yet to be labeled. Right, so what we are going to do from here is, so kita tengok dekat sini 4 negative. Okay, and then 4 positive. So this is the value of x. Okay, so x equal to 4. Let's say I labeled it over here. Contoh, dekat sini saya letak 4. Okay, so x equal to 4 is over here. Okay, and then kita tahu dekat sini, when x approaching 4 from the left, y is approaching negative 3 over 5. Okay, and then when when x approaching 4 from the right, y is approaching negative 3 over 5. So you notice that these value are the same. Okay, means that daripada arah kiri 4 dengan daripada arah kanan 4, ini adalah nilai x awak. Okay, sini x equal to 4. Okay, so dia datang daripada kiri, datang juga daripada kanan, dan dia berhenti pada nilai y equal to negative 3 over 5. Okay, so means that sekarang kita kena label negative 3 over 5 tu dekat sini, somewhere over here. Okay, let's say saya label dekat sini. So negative 3 over 5 dekat sini. Like this. Okay, so kalau kita cuba fahamkan daripada graf kita, so kita nampak lah. So dekat sini kita punya 4 kan, 4 kita located dekat sini. So when x approaching this 4 from the left as well as from the right, y awak dia berhenti dekat negative 3 over 5. Okay, itu adalah maksud these two limits. Okay, so now sebenarnya what is happening over here dekat 4 ni, apa yang berlaku sebenarnya? So jom kita try substitute x equal to 4 into our function dekat sini. Okay, so when x is equal to 4, apa jadi dekat awak punya y? Okay, so kita tengok dekat sini function kita adalah negative 3x plus 12. Okay, over dengan x square minus 3x minus 4. Okay, so ini adalah function kita. So bila kita substitute x equal to 4 dalam kita punya function, sebenarnya apa yang kita akan dapat is 0 over 0. Okay, so 0 over 0 bila kita substitute nilai x yang bukan limit. Okay, this one adalah bukan limit. You are not looking for limit right now. You are looking for f4. Okay, dekat sini apa yang awak cari sebenarnya adalah awak cari f4 bila kita substitute x equal to 4. So bila f4 is equal to 0 over 0, this one will automatically be undefined. Okay, undefined maksudnya apa? Undefined maksudnya graf awak tidak menyentuh x equal to 4. Okay, so your graph, the graph will not touch. The graph will not touch x equal to 4. Okay, tapi dekat sini kalau tengok graf awak ni menyentuh x equal to 4. So macam mana kita nak buat dia tak sentuh? You just need to put an empty circle over here. Kita letak satu empty circle dekat situ. So dia tak akan sentuh lah maksudnya. Empty circle maksudnya awak tahu graf awak tidak menyentuh tempat itu. Dia hanya boleh menghampiri daripada kiri, menghampiri daripada kanan. Okay, tapi dia tidak akan pernah menyentuh. Kenapa tidak akan menyentuh? Sebab dia undefined bila dia sentuh x equal to 4. Yes, okay, so that's why. Right, so and then there's one more last thing that you need to do. So over here you see you have a y-intercept. So you need to find your y-intercept. Okay, so y-intercept is when x equal to 0. Oops. Okay, so this is y-intercept. Okay, when x is equal to 0, so kita akan dapat y is equal to 12 over negative 4, which is equal to negative 3. So this one over here is negative 3. Okay, settle. So this is how your graph looks like. Macam inilah dia bentuk graph awak. Okay, so bahagian sinilah saya rasa dia akan a bit challenging for you. Okay, sebab ada tiba-tiba pula ada dekat sini satu titik, satu bulat yang tidak berwarna. Okay, sebab apa? Sebab dia undefined dekat situ. Okay, and then you will need to find your y-intercept as well. And then nilai negative 3 over 5 ni pun, that's why kita kena cari nilai ni betul-betul lah. Sebab kita akan guna balik nilai ni dekat sini. Yeah. Okay, so let's say dalam awak punya jalan kerja, awak ada cari awak punya x-intercept. Okay, let's see. Awak cari x-intercept meaning that when y is equal to 0. Okay, so awak akan dapat 0 equal to negative 3x plus 12, and then dekat bawah kita dapat x square minus 3x minus 4, and then bila pindah-pindah awak akan dapat macam ni, negative 3x plus 12 equal to 0. So I believe you will have x is equal to 4. Okay, so awak akan dapat x equal to 4. So x equal to 4 maksudnya dekat sini lah kan x-intercept awak. Tapi awak boleh fikir logik, kita kan ada horizontal asymptote. So horizontal asymptote biasanya dia adalah nilai yang graf kita tak boleh langgar. Okay, so based on that doubtful that you have, okay, berdasarkan keraguan yang awak ada tu, why don't you test back the value of x yang awak ada ni. Okay, so awak test balik value of x equal to 4 ni masuk balik dekat dalam function awak. So bila kita test balik, kita akan dapat macam ni lah sebenarnya. Okay, that's why dia adalah undefined. That's why daripada situ pun awak boleh nampak sebenarnya dia tidak akan menyentuh. Dia cuma boleh menghampiri, tapi bila dia sampai dekat situ, dia terus jadi undefined. Okay, so yeah, I think that's all for this video. So if you have any question or you don't understand about this video, please do not hesitate to ask me. Right, that's it. Bye bye.